The Forgotten Costume in the Attic. 1 WP. We found an old box of Halloween decorations in our new house's attic. Among the dusty plastic spiders and faded garlands was a child's homemade costume, one that perfectly mimicked the town's most enduring and terrifying urban legend. When my wife and I bought the old Hawthorne house on Elm Street, we knew it came with some quirks. Drafts, uneven floorboards, the faint smell of lavender that clung to the wallpaper no matter how much we scrubbed. But the attic was a different beast entirely. It was a time capsule of someone else's life, crammed with dusty trunks, brittle newspapers from the 70s, and enough cobwebs to knit a sweater for a giant. We finally decided to tackle it last weekend, hoping to find some hidden treasures. Mostly it was just junk. Until we unearthed a large, unlabeled cardboard box tucked away in a dark corner. Halloween decorations, maybe? My wife, Sarah, suggested, her voice echoing in the stale air. We lugged it downstairs and opened it. Inside were the usual suspects: plastic spiders with missing legs, tangled strings of orange lights, a cracked plastic witch's cauldron. And then, at the very bottom, carefully folded and preserved, was a child's homemade Halloween costume. It wasn't a sheet ghost or a cowboy. It was unnerving. The costume was a deep, muted brown, made from what looked like an old burlap sack. It had long, gangly limbs stuffed with straw, giving it an elongated, almost inhuman shape. The headpiece was a simple fabric bag, also burlap, with two rough black buttons sewn on for eyes. But the most chilling detail was the smile. A wide, jagged grin cut into the burlap, reinforced with stiff wire, making it look permanently frozen in a rictus of silent, empty mirth. It looked like something a scarecrow would wear if it decided to go trick-or-treating. Sarah gasped. "Oh my God, it's the Silent Man." Our town, like many others, has its urban legends. The Silent Man is ours. The story goes that decades ago, a lonely, reclusive figure lived on the outskirts of town. He never spoke, only watched from the shadows. Kids, being kids, tormented him. Until one Halloween night, a group of them went too far. The next morning, they were found in the woods, unharmed, but utterly catatonic, only able to babble about a tall, silent man with a stitched smile who had watched them from the trees all night. He was never seen again, but the legend stuck. Parents still use it to scare kids away from wandering too far on Halloween. To find a costume perfectly matching that description in our new old house gave us both chills. It was too specific to be a coincidence. We ended up hanging it in the garage, mostly out of morbid curiosity. It swayed slightly in the drafts, those black button eyes seeming to follow us as we passed. We even made a few jokes about it, trying to lighten the mood. Maybe the old owners were big fans of local folklore, I'd say, forcing a laugh. Then, last night, I was woken by a thud downstairs. I grabbed a baseball bat and crept down, my heart pounding. The back door was ajar, and the garage door, which I'd locked, was wide open. The costume was gone. I checked the security camera footage from the garage. Around 3 a.m., the camera had picked up a flicker, a slight distortion, like old VHS static, and then the costume, hanging on its hook, slowly detached itself. It didn't fall. It simply unhooked and then, in a jerky, almost puppet-like movement, walked out of the garage and into the moonlit night. It didn't shuffle or drag. It had a deliberate, unsettling gait, the stuffed limbs swaying unnaturally with each silent step. The black button eyes seemed to gleam in the camera's night vision. We called the police, of course. They found faint, muddy footprints leading away from our house, too large for a child, too narrow for an adult. They went into the old woods behind our property, the same woods where those children were found all those years ago. Tonight is Halloween. Sarah and I are locking every door, every window. We've drawn the blinds tight. We're sitting in the living room, lights on, watching horror movies, trying to convince ourselves it's just a prank. But every now and then, from outside, we hear it. Not a sound exactly, more like a pressure, a stillness in the air. And sometimes, if one of us glances quickly at the window, we swear we see a tall, dark silhouette standing perfectly still amidst the bare trees, its head tilted slightly, its face a permanent stitched grin. And those button eyes, they seem to be watching. Always. Happy Halloween.